What if I told you that most people who say they love you are not searching for you at all? They're searching for the feeling they get when you reflect back the version of themselves they desperately want to believe exists. But once in a lifetime, someone may appear who doesn't chase your attention. They quietly recognize something far deeper. By the end of this video, you'll know the unmistakable signs that this rare connection has already entered your life, or why you've never truly experienced it. Think about one person who has stayed in your mind for years, not because they entertained you, but because they somehow changed the way you understood yourself. Keep that person in your thoughts as we explore this together. And while you listen, ask yourself one question. Did they love the image I projected, or the soul I was afraid to reveal? If you've ever wondered whether someone truly sees the real you, stay until the end, because the final insight changes everything. Most people spend their lives believing they are searching for love, when in reality they are searching for attention. The difference is subtle at first, yet it changes everything. Attention is drawn to what is visible. It notices your appearance, your achievements, your confidence, your charm, or the role you play in someone else's story. It is attracted to the surface because the surface is easy to understand, but the soul has never lived on the surface. It exists in the quiet places where your fears, hopes, contradictions, and hidden dreams remain unseen. This is why receiving endless attention can still leave a person feeling profoundly lonely. When someone seeks only your attention, their interest often rises and falls with your ability to satisfy their emotional needs. They enjoy the version of you that entertains them, comforts them, or validates their beliefs. Yet the moment you reveal uncertainty, vulnerability, or change, their connection begins to weaken. They were never meeting the real person beneath the mask. They were relating to an image they had quietly created in their own mind. A person who loves your soul moves differently. They become curious about the parts of you that even you struggle to understand. They do not rush to fix your pain or erase your complexity. Instead, they remain present while you discover yourself. They understand that every human being carries hidden rooms inside the mind, places filled with forgotten memories, silent fears, and unexplored potential. Rather than turning away from those places, they gently encourage you to enter them without shame. Their presence creates something rare. You no longer feel pressured to perform, impress, or constantly prove your worth. You begin to experience a freedom that cannot be manufactured through compliments or admiration. For perhaps the first time, you sense that your value does not depend on how well you capture another person's attention, but on the simple truth of who you are when every mask is finally allowed to fall. The mask is one of the first things we learn to create, often without realizing it. From childhood, we discover that certain emotions earn approval while others invite rejection. We learn to smile when we feel uncertain, to appear confident when fear fills our thoughts, and to hide parts of ourselves that seem too strange, too emotional, or too imperfect. Over time, this carefully constructed identity becomes the face we present to the world. It helps us belong, succeed, and avoid conflict. Yet there is a quiet cost. The more convincing the mask becomes, the easier it is for others to love the character we perform while never truly meeting the person beneath it. Many relationships never move beyond this invisible stage. They are built on expectations, roles, and carefully maintained appearances. One person falls in love with the image of strength, another with intelligence, humor, beauty, or success. As long as both people continue playing their assigned parts, the relationship appears stable, but beneath the surface, a silent fear begins to grow. What happens if the mask slips? What happens if exhaustion, grief, insecurity, or failure reveals the hidden self that has been waiting in the shadows all along? The rarest kind of person is not fascinated by the performance. They notice small moments that others ignore. They see the hesitation behind your confidence, the sadness hidden beneath your laughter, and the dreams you rarely speak aloud. Instead of demanding perfection, they become interested in your contradictions. They understand that every human being is both strong and fragile, certain and confused, hopeful and afraid at the same time. In their presence, something remarkable begins to happen. You stop measuring every word before speaking. You no longer feel trapped by the need to appear impressive or endlessly capable. The walls built over years of self-protection begin to lose their purpose. Little by little, the authentic self emerges, not because it is forced into the light, but because it finally feels safe enough to exist. That is the quiet proof that someone values your true nature rather than the carefully polished identity you once believed you had to protect. One of the greatest fears we carry is not the fear of being disliked, but the fear of being fully known. We all possess parts of ourselves that remain hidden from the world. There are memories we avoid, impulses we struggle to understand, regrets we quietly carry, and emotions we believe would make us unworthy if anyone ever saw them. These hidden dimensions do not disappear simply because they are ignored. Instead, they continue shaping our choices from the background, influencing our relationships in ways we rarely recognize. The more we deny these unseen parts, the more power they silently gain over us. This is why many relationships feel fragile. They survive only as long as both people continue presenting the most acceptable versions of themselves. They celebrate success but become uncomfortable with failure. They welcome confidence but retreat from vulnerability. The moment pain, anger, jealousy, or insecurity appears, the connection begins to crack. Not because these emotions are unusual, but because they expose what was carefully concealed beneath the surface. The relationship was built on comfort rather than truth. A person who truly loves your soul responds differently. They do not mistake your darkest moments for your entire identity. They understand that every human being carries both light and darkness within them. They recognize that imperfections are not signs of failure, but reminders that you're still growing. Instead of using your weaknesses as weapons, they treat them with patience and quiet understanding. They know that healing cannot happen where there is constant judgment. This does not mean they approve of every action or ignore harmful behavior. Genuine acceptance is never blind agreement. It is the ability to separate your mistakes from your worth as a human being. They encourage responsibility without humiliation and honesty without fear. Their presence makes it easier for you to face the parts of yourself you once tried to bury, because you are no longer fighting against rejection at the same time. Slowly, you begin to realize something extraordinary. The qualities you worked hardest to hide become the very places where trust is born. Instead of pretending to be flawless, you discover the quiet freedom of being completely real, knowing that authentic connection is strengthened by truth rather than weakened by it. Many people mistake love for possession because control often disguises itself as care. Someone may say they want the best for you, yet quietly become uncomfortable whenever you grow beyond the version of yourself they have grown accustomed to. They celebrate your progress only when it keeps you close, your dreams only when they do not challenge the relationship, and your independence only when it never threatens their influence. What appears to be affection can slowly become an invisible cage, built not from cruelty, but from fear. Fear of losing control, fear of becoming unnecessary, fear that your evolution might lead you away. A person who loves only your attention often wants you to remain predictable. They feel secure when you seek their approval before making decisions or when your confidence depends on their reassurance. Your dependence becomes proof of your affection. Without realizing it, they begin shaping your choices, discouraging risks, questioning your instincts, and making you doubt the inner voice that once guided you. Over time, your world becomes smaller, not because you lack potential, but because your freedom has been quietly exchanged for comfort. Someone who loves your soul desires something entirely different. They understand that love is not measured by how tightly two people hold on to each other, but by how freely they allow each other to become who they are meant to be. Instead of fearing your transformation, they welcome it. They encourage you to learn, to question, to create, and to discover parts of yourself that have never had the chance to emerge. They know that real intimacy is not threatened by growth, it is strengthened by it. This kind of person does not compete with your purpose or demand to stand at the center of your life. They find joy in watching your confidence deepen because your strength is not a threat to them. They offer guidance without demanding obedience and support, without expecting ownership. Even when your path becomes uncertain, they remind you to trust your own judgment instead of replacing it with theirs. In their presence, you begin to understand that genuine love does not ask you to become smaller so someone else can feel larger. It quietly gives you the courage to expand into your fullest self, knowing that the deepest connections are never built on control, but on the freedom to grow without fear of losing the one who truly sees you. In a world that never stops talking, silence has become something many people fear. We often assume that if words disappear, connection must be fading. We measure affection through constant messages, endless conversations, and the need for immediate replies. When the phone remains quiet or a room falls still, anxiety quickly fills the empty space. We begin asking ourselves whether something has gone wrong, whether interest has faded, or whether we are slowly being forgotten. Yet the deepest relationships rarely depend on constant noise to prove they are alive. When someone seeks only your attention, silence becomes uncomfortable because attention must always be fed. There is a constant need for reassurance, entertainment, or emotional stimulation. Every pause feels like distance, every unanswered message feels like rejection, and every quiet moment becomes something that must be filled. The relationship survives on continuous validation, leaving both people exhausted without fully understanding why. A person who loves your soul experiences silence differently. They understand that genuine connection is not measured by the number of words exchanged, but by the sense of peace that remains when words are no longer necessary. They do not panic when conversations pause because they trust the bond beneath the conversation. Their confidence in the relationship is rooted in presence rather than performance. Think about the rare moments when you sit beside someone without feeling the need to impress them or keep the conversation alive. There is no pressure to entertain, explain yourself, or search for the perfect sentence. The silence feels warm instead of awkward. It becomes a shared space where both people can simply exist without pretending to be more interesting, happy, or stronger than they truly are. That kind of silence cannot be forced. It appears only when trust has become deeper than appearances. This quiet comfort also reveals something important about the human soul. We are not always searching for answers or advice. Sometimes we simply want another person to witness our existence without trying to change it. The right person understands this instinctively. They know that not every wound requires words, and not every emotion demands explanation. Their calm presence speaks in ways language never could, reminding you that being fully accepted often sounds less like conversation and more like peaceful stillness shared between two hearts that no longer need to prove they belong together. Many people become addicted to emotional intensity without realizing it. They mistake unpredictability for passion, anxiety for excitement, and constant emotional highs and lows for evidence of deep love. The heart begins to chase what the mind cannot understand. One day, there is overwhelming affection. The next day, there is distance. One moment you feel chosen. The next, you question your worth. This cycle creates powerful emotions, but powerful emotions are not always signs of genuine connection. Often, they are signs of uncertainty disguised as romance. When someone seeks only your attention, they may keep the relationship emotionally unstable because instability keeps your focus locked on them. You spend more time wondering how they feel than understanding how you feel. Your thoughts become occupied with decoding mixed signals, replaying conversations, and searching for hidden meanings behind every action. Without noticing, your emotional energy is consumed by confusion rather than closeness. You call it love because it feels intense, but intensity alone has never been proof of sincerity. A person who loves your soul creates a very different emotional experience. Instead of pulling you into endless cycles of doubt, they offer consistency. Their words and actions gradually become aligned, allowing trust to grow naturally instead of being forced through repeated reassurance. You know where you stand because they do not use uncertainty as a source of power. Their care is steady, not dramatic. Their affection is reliable, not conditional. This quiet consistency may seem less thrilling at first, especially if you have become accustomed to emotional chaos, but over time it reveals a far deeper form of intimacy. In their presence, your nervous system begins to relax. You stop waiting for the next disappointment or unexpected withdrawal. You no longer feel the need to earn affection every single day because it is freely given rather than strategically withheld. Instead of constantly asking whether you are enough, you begin asking how you can continue growing into the person you truly want to become. This is one of the clearest signs that someone values your soul rather than your attention. They do not leave you emotionally exhausted in order to keep you attached. They leave you emotionally grounded, helping you discover that the safest love is often the strongest because it allows your heart to rest instead of constantly preparing for the next emotional storm. The people who leave the deepest mark on your life are not always the ones who give you the strongest emotions. More often, they are the ones who quietly change the way you see yourself. Before meeting them, you may have believed that your identity was fixed, shaped entirely by your past experiences, your successes, or your failures. Yet a genuine soul connection has a mysterious way of revealing possibilities within you that had been waiting patiently beneath the surface. It does not hand you a new identity. It helps you uncover the one that was there all along. Many relationships keep people emotionally frozen. They reward familiar patterns because familiarity feels safe. If you have always doubted yourself, they continue treating you as uncertain. If you have always hidden your emotions, they accept the mask without questioning it. Over time, you remain the same person you were when the relationship began. There may be comfort, but there is little transformation. The connection protects what is familiar instead of awakening what is possible. A person who loves your soul becomes a quiet mirror rather than a sculptor. They do not try to redesign your personality according to their preferences or expectations. Instead, they reflect back qualities that you have forgotten or never fully recognized. They notice your courage when you see only fear. They recognize your wisdom while you continue doubting your own judgment. They remind you of your strength during moments when your confidence begins to disappear. Their belief in your deeper nature encourages you to trust parts of yourself that have long been ignored. This transformation is rarely dramatic. It unfolds slowly through countless ordinary moments. You begin speaking with greater honesty because you no longer fear rejection. You make decisions with more confidence because someone has shown you that your instincts deserve respect. Old emotional wounds gradually lose their power because they are no longer defining every choice you make. The relationship becomes a place where healing happens naturally rather than something that constantly demands repair. Eventually, you notice a profound shift. You are no longer living merely to be accepted by others. You become more authentic, more self-aware, and more at peace with both your strengths and your imperfections. That is the unmistakable sign of a relationship rooted in the soul. Its greatest gift is not that it changes who you are, but that it gives you the courage to become the fullest expression of who you have always been. The final proof that someone loves your soul rather than your attention is revealed when life begins to strip away everything that once made you easy to admire. Imagine the roles you play disappearing one by one. Your success fades, your confidence weakens, your appearance changes with time, your achievements are forgotten, and the qualities that once attracted praise no longer stand at the center of your identity. In those moments, a difficult question quietly emerges. If all the things that earned admiration were gone, who would still choose to remain? Many relationships are built upon conditions that are never spoken aloud. As long as you continue providing excitement, validation, security, or status, affection seems effortless. Yet when circumstances change, the relationship begins to shift. Interest fades, patience disappears, and support slowly becomes more difficult to find. It is not always because the other person intended to deceive you. Often they were attached to what your presence provided rather than to the person standing before them. Their love depended on the benefits of the connection, not the truth of your existence. Someone who loves your soul responds in a completely different way. They remain connected to your humanity even when your circumstances no longer appear impressive. They understand that every person will eventually experience seasons of weakness, confusion, disappointment, and loss. Instead of withdrawing during those difficult chapters, they draw closer with compassion. They are not searching for a perfect companion, but for an authentic one. Your struggles do not erase your worth in their eyes because they have never confused your value with your achievements. This does not mean they ignore your mistakes or pretend everything is fine. They encourage honesty, responsibility, and growth, but they never make you feel that your right to be loved depends on flawless performance. Their commitment reaches deeper than temporary success because it is rooted in the person you're becoming rather than the image you present to the world. Perhaps the clearest evidence appears in the quiet moments when there is nothing to gain. They stay when admiration has faded, when applause has become silence, and when your only offering is your genuine self. In that unwavering presence, you discover the rarest form of love, a love that does not cling to your attention, your usefulness, or your perfection, but remains faithful to the truth of your soul, even when everything else has changed. There comes a moment in every life when the greatest question is no longer, who loves me, but who truly sees me? These are not the same question. Many people will admire your talents, celebrate your victories, and seek your attention while it serves their own emotional needs. They may applaud the mask you wear because it is comfortable, familiar, and easy to understand. But very few will remain when that mask begins to fall. The deepest form of love has never been about constant excitement, endless praise, or perfect agreement. It is about recognition. It is about finding someone who sees your fears without defining you by them, who witnesses your imperfections without turning them into weapons, and who encourages your growth without trying to control the direction of your life. Such a person does not rescue your soul because your soul was never meant to be rescued. They simply remind you of what has always been waiting beneath years of doubt, fear, and forgotten truth. Yet there is an even greater realization hidden beneath all of this. Before another person can truly love your soul, you must stop abandoning it yourself. If you spend your life hiding behind masks, silencing your instincts, and seeking approval from every passing voice, even genuine love may feel unfamiliar when it finally arrives. The relationship you have with your own inner world becomes the foundation for every relationship that follows. When you begin accepting your own complexity, your own light and darkness, your own strength and vulnerability, you naturally recognize those who value the real you instead of the image you project. So, as you leave this conversation, do not ask only whether someone loves your soul. Ask whether your life invites people to meet the person behind the performance. The rarest connections are never built on attention alone. They are built on truth, courage, and the quiet willingness to be fully seen. And when you encounter someone who remains beside you after every illusion has faded, hold that connection with gratitude because you have discovered something that cannot be manufactured, demanded, or replaced. You have found a love that reaches beyond appearances and speaks directly to the deepest part of who you are.